Welcome to another episode of Inspire People, Impact Lives. Today's topic, walking with confidence. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now picture yourself approaching a prospective client, walking into a board meeting or a party. How do you look? What message do you communicate the moment you walk into a room? What are your eyes, hands, and shoulders saying about you? What does your dress and or appearance say? From your vibe, tone, and energy, what information can people gather about you before you ever say a word? Never thought about it? You should. Today I have Scott Chalmers from Chalmers Jewelers joining me on the show. Scott has been in the jewelry business for 38 years now. He has built a successful business not only on the quality and craftsmanship of his jewelry, but also on the impeccable service to the customer, delivering the ultimate jewelry experience. Scott, welcome to the show.
Josh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
As always, my friend. So today I want to discuss your opinions on why body language, appearance, and the way you present yourself are important, not only to business, but in life. It's been said that the confidence of your body language, your appearance, energy, and mood, or lack thereof, can either relax people or make them feel nervous and uneasy. Do you find this to be true?
I do find it to be true. What I try to do on my own is I want to look sharp. I want to look crisp. I want to look confident, but I want to present myself always with a smile, always looking someone directly into the eye whenever I talk to them. And when I walk into a room, I try to be more open and more friendly. And I like dressing nice. I mean, I sell fine jewelry. I'm meticulous in what I make, so I'm meticulous on the way I look. I'm the brand, so I want to exuberate that. I want to show that to everyone.
Well, sure. When you put your last name on a business, that you are the brand.
Exactly.
Well, I love it. And I've always experienced that with you walking into your store. We share a suit guy.
Yes, we do.
So I know we share that meticulous style with clothing as well. How do you convey that to your staff?
Well, what I try to do with my staff is I say, look, you're representing fine jewelry. You're representing Chalmers Jewelers, and people have to feel comfortable with you. So if you look totally together, if you look in style, with the current colors, current designs, things like that, on how you present yourself, right down to the hairstyle, then convincing that person that you know what you're going to sell, what you're selling jewelry, and what the styles are, they believe you.
Yeah.
And especially when you look them in the eye and you tell them this, and you have that whole look going on.
Yeah. So it removes one barrier, or maybe even an initial barrier for them trusting the salesperson on what they're talking about.
Exactly. The last thing you want to do is have a 10-year-old sweater on with puckers all over it, okay? And you're pulling out a $20,000 piece of fine jewelry. It just doesn't go together. So that's what my staff, they actually like it. They love it, especially now that they got my suit guy and your suit guy.
Well, you have some phenomenal women staff as well, and they're not wearing suits, but they're always dressed to the nines.
They do look good. They feel, if you feel confident in the way you look, you'll feel confident making the sale and following through to the customer.
I would agree. So speaking of that, I think there's usually a lot of emotion involved in purchasing jewelry, yes, particularly on the engagement side of things.
Yes.
But I think in anything, big event or special occasion, in what ways do you train your staff to ensure they're putting customers at ease, throughout the client experience or customer experience, and not just what they wear? How else do you communicate that with them?
Our staff, what's fun about our staff, first of all, I like them to try to read the personality of the customer, because all personalities are different. Some are meek and mild, some are very gung-ho. There's all these different personalities. And so I want them to feel this person out for a few seconds by getting to know them. Talk about the anniversary. How long have you been together? Wow, you've been together 40 years? That's amazing. Didn't time fly? Start talking about things like that. Where'd you meet her? Oh, well, we're at this basketball game, and, I was looking at her over the aisle, and she looked at me, and I decided to go and talk to her. So we find out about our customers' experiences and why they're in, and get to know them on a personal level before we try to sell them anything. That's just how we do it.
That's really good. So let's take it back, because you've been a staple in Middleton Madison community forever. You've been in this business, sales and business, 38 years.
Yeah, long
38
time.
years. Do you recall someone you admired that was exceptional in the way they carried themselves? And what did you learn from them? Whether it was way back then or even up until today.
It's funny you should mention this, because I was just at the kind of the grand opening of the Sylvie, okay, which you all know is a wonderful venue with Frank and Frank Productions. And Herb Frank, who's, I'm thinking he's in his 80s by now, he always struck me, and I'm talking going back to 1986, okay? He'd walk in, and this guy was always funny. He was always jovial. He was never a negative type personality. He was just a great guy I wanted to just talk to. And I was at the Sylvie just the other night, and he was there. And Scotty, when I come walking up to a big hug, it's like, those are the kind of people, and that's 30 some years ago, okay, that I still remember and still appreciate and still think is a great human being. So he would be one of them for sure.
And besides that jovial nature and that he treated you so warm, was there anything else? Obviously, he's been a great businessman within the community, but anything else that stuck out to you about him?
Well, you know what? He did dress very well. He always looked together. He always looked stylish. And even the other night, dead on. He looked fantastic, even at his age. So he's kind of what I try to mirror for my employees and my staff. Come out looking your best, They'll remember you.
I always remember that growing up. And my father was always in suits, but I think the lesson actually might have even come from my mother, is to always dress your best. And if you happen to show up, or maybe one level above what you think it's going to be, say we're in a suit and tie,
sure,
you can always take off the tie or
correct,
take off the jacket.
Yes.
But if you show up potentially underdressed, you're going to feel out of place the entire time.
Your mom's 100% correct.
So that always stuck with me.
No, she's right.
So speaking of going back, you're in business and sales, and I've heard this story from you on the golf course before, but I want our audience to hear it. 27 years ago, what made you start Chalmers Jewelers?
Well, I worked at another local jewelry store. I worked at two for 12 years. The last one was 6 years. I was getting a lot of promises because he had asked me to help him open his business. So I did. And I literally got married with no job to help him out. And I did. But after 5 years of promises, you're going to be manager, you're going to do this, I finally had it up to the top of my head and I said, no more. Okay? So I knew I did nothing wrong. I knew I did very well, and I helped his company grow to where it was that day. The thing is that I had a 2-month-old at home, a 5-year-old at home. My wife wasn't working in the sector at all because she was taking care of the kids, which was something we were able to do. And of course, the car payment, the 11.9% mortgage on the house back then, right? Which, yeah. So
80s.
And I walked in and I said, Rick, I called him every name in the book. Why? Because I wanted him to fire me. Because I knew I had a responsibility for my family, but I couldn't do what I was doing any longer. So I came home on December 17th of 1991, and I said to my wife, Ruth, I said, look, I just got fired. What was her reaction? What are we going to do?
Did she call you every name in the book?
No, she was like, she just had this wide-eyed because we knew the kids were, what are we going to do was her thought. So I said, look, I'll either go on the road and sell jewelry wholesale, or I could start my own store. Well, her concern was the children were quite young. And she said, look, I don't want you on the road traveling all over the country selling jewelry. I want you to be home because the kids are little. She said, you opened the store for Ausman back then? You can do it yourself. So I said, okay, here's the deal. First time in 12 years I was home on Christmas Eve. First time. So I said, I'm not doing anything till January 1st. We got a little bit saved up. January 1st, I'm designing a business plan. February 1st, I'm going to 4 banks. I did all this. I got approved by 2 banks, and I got unapproved by 2 banks. So it worked out like clockwork. I went to the bank. I started out with a very small amount of money for this business. I got $110,000. I put up my 64 Corvette because that's the only thing I had that was paid for collateral. I had $8,000 saved up, and here we go. I found a location just 2 blocks down in Midtown Square from my store, current store now. And I was lucky because a former jeweler was trying to go in there, and he was doing all this remodeling. Well, he failed to check his lease in Westtown and Hilldale. He was too close, so he couldn't open up for business. So Ron Gross, who owned the building, I went to talk to him, and I said, look, would you like me to get in here? And he says, absolutely.
As any landlord would.
As a,
well,
yep, for 5. So I took over a 5-year lease, but I said to him, I said, Ron, you can't tell anyone who's coming in here because everyone knows me in this business. He said, no problem. Calls me up the next day. Yep, they want to get out of there. Perfect. So it was a 3/4 of the way built out. So I was able to walk in. I hired one of the jewelers was a great drywaller that worked with us. So he would come over in the evening and do my drywalling for me, okay, while he was working for the person I just got fired with, right? So we started doing all that. I had a friend make my showcases in his garage. I had lots of vendor friends because they knew I was doing all the volume at that store. So they said, Scott, whatever you want. You give me $10,000, I'll give you 20 in jewelry. You know, that type of thing. So I was able to get almost twice as much jewelry for the money because of my credibility with these people. And that's how we started it. And my goal was to do $1 million in 5 years, and we went crazy, and we did it in 3. And then after 7 years, I got it to the most I could possibly do out of that location. And that's where you see us today, where we took over the Country Kitchen in late 1998, remodeled it, and we're still there today. And we doubled the volume, literally.
But that first year, there's got to be some dreamers that are listening right now that potentially don't own their own business but aspire to someday.
Get ready.
That first year, for you, now, how old were you then?
I was around 36.
So you're 36. You got 2 very young kids, stay-at-home wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's a scary time.
It was, and I'll tell you, you've never worked so hard. You know, I get these people today that, 40 hours to them is too much. Well, I'll tell you, I was there in the morning at 9 o'clock. I left at 8 o'clock, 6 days a week. We actually brought the playpen for my daughter, sleeping bags in the office so that my wife would bring the kids after 5 o'clock or when they woke up from naps and things, and come to the store and hang out with me till we closed. That's how it was. And so I was putting in 70 hours a week, something like that for many, 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 many months. Finally, after 6 months, I was losing it a little bit, and we were growing so much. That's when I started getting help, and that really helped. But no, if you want to open a business, prepare to work 70 plus hours a week and be extremely serious about it, and do not look backwards. And you can do it. You just need the confidence to do it and work ethic to do it.
So going to that business in that spot and talking about our topic with walking with confidence, how do you feel jewelry can play a role in this? Because I see you've got a custom piece on your wrist. Mm-hmm. You got a great watch that I know is from your store. You got a custom ring from your store. You're constantly putting that out there. Like you said, you're the billboard.
Right.
But someone that's not a jewelry store owner, someone like myself or someone in our audience, how do you feel jewelry or how those accessories could play into that?
I think by having accessories that are unique and different, that aren't everywhere. There's chain store type merchandise out there, and then there's one of a kind, unique type pieces. Like yourself. You love us for, let's say, my cufflinks. No one in the city has my cufflinks, but you love them because they're 3D, they're absolutely amazing, they're pretty much one of a kind, and the company's been making them since the late 1700s in England. So when somebody sees the cufflinks on your wrist, you always get a compliment from them, as I get a compliment on my pieces. So fine jewelry, especially custom fine jewelry, doesn't have to be gaudy, but it can be tasteful in quality. People compliment on it all the time, especially on the watches, especially on the bracelets and the rings, and definitely those cufflinks.
Yep. No, and I do. I love them. And you know exactly what I like now, so it's good.
Know your taste, Josh.
So how important to you, and I'm thinking of your example earlier, is it for a business owner to be conscious of the way they present themselves in the community?
Well, you got to be careful. You can't be in a bar slinging down drinks and be drunk. I mean, I'm not into that type of thing. I'll go have a couple cocktails, mostly like a beer or some wine. I don't even drink hard alcohol. But you need to know your surroundings, okay? And you need to know there are other people going to recognize you. I mean, me, when I've been on TV, a lot of times, I'm on the radio all the time. So many times I go out, I get the kind of look like, I know this guy, right? From somewhere, right. So I have to be a little careful that way as far as where I go and what I do, because somebody always says something,
Yeah.
So you got to watch what you do sometimes.
And rumors can run rampant.
Well, and they always, not only rumors, but they're always embellished beyond whatever really took place. So that's never good.
It's like the telephone game back in grade school. The story just gets bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden it's not even the same story.
Ditto. Yes, I hear you. It's exactly correct.
So that's interesting, because I'm talking to my financial advisors and my staff about that as well. And I had an example early on in my career, and I had someone outside this business give me this advice. It was actually a real estate person that said, you can have a drink or two in public, but never drunk.
Right.
Never drunk. And it was great advice, and I stuck to that. And then I got smacked me in the face one time when I was at a Badger tailgate, and I saw someone, and I want to be careful not to disclose anything, but they were high up at a bank, and they were being carried out of the stadium bar.
Right.
By two people.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap. And I'm observant enough to see this, and I happen to know who this person was.
Sure.
Now, this wasn't my client, this wasn't my banker, this wasn't any of that, but I at least knew who they were. And I was just thinking, if that was me, who would have saw me? And I'm their financial advisor.
Right.
Or I run a Northwestern Mutual, I'm the organization leader. If I was to be carried out of a tailgate like that, who would have seen me? And what would that have done to perception?
That's true. That's very true.
So I was fortunate enough, A, to get that advice prior to starting in this business, and then B, to really see that in the first couple of years take fruition. And luckily it wasn't me, and it wasn't someone that I was close to, but it was someone that I knew of that was like, it gave me that reality check.
There you go.
So I think very good advice there. So do you believe that you are a direct reflection of your work, your business, your family? It sounds like we've already answered this, but I want to make sure we're crystal clear as an audience.
Well, I feel I am, but I also feel that some of my employees, like my son, he's a graduate gemologist. He's like going to be the new face of Chalmers. My daughter, she's in California. She'll be coming back. She's also a gemologist. So I feel, I'm 62 years old. So how many more years am I going to be the face, which I don't mind it. I kind of like it. But I'm trying to get them into it now for the next generation type thing. And also some of my coworkers, like John Buman's been with me for 15 years. I'm at a wedding on Saturday, but we are going to the firemen and police ball which I always donate heavily to because I think it's a wonderful cause. And I always give away my villa in Mexico. And it always goes for at least $6,000. What I like doing is I like getting up on stage and then trying to get it for more. Or if somebody wins it, the next one in line, I make them match it. And I've done it many times.
So you double up the
I
donation.
double it up. So I say, look, are you willing to spend the same $6,000 as Steve just did? Yeah, sure. What's he going to say? No in front of 400 people? Right? No. I did
by
call
the way,
him out.
That works at every charitable.
It does work every month. So I do that, and then boom, yeah, they say, yep, take it. So we donate at least, they get $12,000, $30,000, probably $16,000 from Chalmers Jewelers for that cause, which I think is wonderful, but it's my staff. They're gonna help me. They're gonna have my back, and they're gonna get up there, and they're gonna do the same thing in my presence because I can't be there.
So I'm going to ask you for that villa for our Alex's Lemonade Stand outing next year now, right?
You got it.
It sounds
It's yours.
good. Deal.
Done.
This is recorded.
That's fine. You're done. You got it.
You spoke to Garrett, your son, real quick. I want to talk about that because I want to talk about the generational differences, right? So Garrett, big hair,
yeah,
tattoos everywhere.
Yep.
Awesome guy.
Yep.
But so different from you.
Yeah. Yes.
And most of the time he's in the back room designing jewelry, designing some really awesome stuff that he's helped me with my wife. But talk a little bit about that. Maybe some on how you've dealt with family and business, and then maybe some on the generational differences when you started 27 years ago to today and that customer.
All right. Well, I would say some of the differences are he has his own ideas, which I am always open to hearing his ideas, and I don't mind implementing some of his ideas. Okay, there are some ideas. Old school has always worked, so there's some things you just don't get rid of, But I like some of the things he brings up, and I followed through with several things he's brought up, which I think is wonderful. I think more often he does go a little bit above and beyond, but I think I wish he would have worked for another company on his own for years and years and years, and I recommend that to anyone that has children coming into the business, because I think it gives them a different work ethic. This is just dad's business, I can do whatever I want kind of thing. That wouldn't hold true in another business or somebody else's business. So
you're accountable to someone different.
Yes,
than a family member.
Yes, and I wish that would have happened, because then they would have maybe seen how my daughter's currently doing that, but he would have seen more of what is needed and what other owners do. And he could bring actually more things to the table also by learning more things from where he would have previously worked. I have to say he does stay longer than the hours needed when he's needed, and he never balks about that, which I think is wonderful. We are in a retail setting, so to me Saturdays are the same as a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, they don't see it that way sometimes, because that's just how it is. So some of those type of things I'd like to see a little more, look, Saturday's Saturday, take off Sunday, Monday. I've been off Sundays and Mondays for 38 years. And I thought it was the best schedule ever, because Sunday was family day, okay? And Monday was get the oil change day, or whatever you could not do on a weekend, right? So
dental appointments, whatever.
Exactly, hair, everything. And Saturdays I didn't mind, and nor should they, because we're not open as late. We're only open 10 to 5 instead of 10 to 7, which would be a normal work day during the week. So, that's the only thing.
But there's Badger tailgates.
And there's Badger tailgates.
So
they got to go. Absolutely.
Well, no, I get you there. So anything on how a generational customer has changed?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
How you guys change your approach, I guess.
Wow. I've hired in the last few years a social media person, okay, like you have. And he's only like 23, 24 at the most. So this guy's dialed in on what that group, what they listen on the radio, if they even do. Everything's computerized. Everything's on their phone. Everything is, what used to be, we do really well with word of mouth, reputation and people all the time. Mm-hmm. But everybody Googles, everybody goes and reads, everything about you. And that's important. And that's what's going on now. So it's a whole different way of advertising. I remember when newspaper used to be hot. Well, newspaper, no way. Mm-hmm. All those things have changed from when I started. That a 25-year-old, 28-year-old, the average engagement couples now, it's like 28, 29. And when I started this, it was 22, 23. So things have changed on age groups of who's getting married and getting engaged now too.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes.
They have access to the internet. The only problem with the internet, they're not as educated as they think, okay? There's like a diamond, cut, color, and clarity. The average consumer looking online just thinks that's all there is. They have no clue of what the crystal color was before, the shape, if it's a milky crystal, if it was silvery crystal, if it was a yellowy crystal. They have no idea what makes it cheaper, okay? So things on the internet aren't exactly a great deal. We just had a customer in yesterday, spent $13,000 or $12,000 on a colored stone on the internet and had it brought in. She came into my store and ended up spending $17,000 on the stone that was, our stones were $3,000 less than the one that she got on the internet. But because she got it on the internet, she thought it was a better deal, and it wasn't a better deal whatsoever. So everyone buying things on the internet, unless it's a known brand, okay, I want those Converse size 10 tennis shoes.
Tiffany's.
Yeah.
If they're go that route.
Right. It is what it is. You can compare. But what I'm finding with the millennials these days, not that that's a good word or bad word, but they're doing things a little bit differently. And I like it that they're doing research, because that helps our business, because we're American Gem Society registered jeweler with GIA graduate gemologists, and you have to have them. 85% of the stores in this town do not have graduate gemologists selling you what you're supposed to be getting. So how do you know what you're getting? And how do you trust somebody on the internet when you're spending $5,000, $6,000, $2,000, no matter what it is? Seems like expensive to me to trust somebody you don't know.
Yeah, especially for something like that where you don't know the differences.
And where's the romance? There's no romance in that. I'd rather meet your fiance. I'd rather put show her the rings and have her be part of the whole program and have fun and have her come in and have it cleaned and checked on the house and get to know how the wedding went and things like that, and upgrades if you want a bigger diamond or something, give them their money back toward the old one to get a newer one. These are things you can't do on the internet.
Yeah. That's not customer care.
No, not at all.
That's just a transaction.
Right. And it's going to change a little once they start charging tax, which I think they should do on the internet. Once they start doing that, now we're all on the same playing field.
Yep. And that's fair.
Yeah.
So anything else? I want to go back to that family business aspect, because I know that there's a lot of family businesses in the Madison area. I've been part of that with working with my father. He retires, but my brother and I are still working together. Mm-hmm. Now my brother spent 5 years in Arizona under a different managing partner in Northwestern Mutual before coming back here, and I think that was hugely valuable. To
absolutely,
your point.
Yes,
I spent a few years in retail before joining Northwestern Mutual.
Okay.
And realized that weekends is not something I want to continue.
Right.
Black Fridays, as a sales manager at Best Buy, I was opening a store at 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Oof.
So every Black Friday is a reminder as to why the heck I don't do that anymore.
Right.
But, it teaches you lessons, like you said, outside of family. Any other familial advice if they're going to go into business, if they're going to transition businesses? Because not a lot of businesses last past the original generation that started the business.
Wow. I'm not out of it yet, so it'd be hard for me to answer that 100%. I think one thing I just did, which I thought was a good thing for keeping employees and transitioning down a little, closing Sundays. Boy, I was totally against that at first, and that comes from old school, and we do fine on Sundays. But then we figured, my son, he's got girlfriend, and he's got things he likes to do on Sundays, and people go to church on Sundays, and I kind of went, let's try it. And so this is something we've just started, and it's worked out well. I think as far as transitioning down, I understand what you're saying, Josh, because especially in my business, second and third generation, a lot of times have sunk the business. But I feel that my son, because he is into it, he's very, very, very good at his CAD design work and creating unique pieces. And he's also very, very good working one-on-one with our customers and our clients. And I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I think family members need to know what they're best at, and people like myself need to know what our family members are best at, and put them in the roles that best fit their personality and what they do for the company. Okay? Because
that's good.
My
that's really
daughter
good.
and my son are total opposites. One's a super perfectionist. One is I should say tight with money or conservative with what she spends.
Well, you just gave away because you.
Yeah, my son's the opposite, but he's got amazing talents in other ends that my daughter only went to school for and hasn't really practiced those, and he's really good at those because he's been doing it now for 7 or about 8 years now with CAD design and things like that. So he's really good at that, and he same with the gemology. He's more into the gems, so he knows about the gems and works with them on a regular basis, and diamonds. So he's got a lot of pluses on all those type ends, and he knows the procedures on how things should run smooth and how pricing should be quoted. So these are all things my son brings to the table that my daughter right now doesn't. Okay, so finding their roles, they would actually complement each other because they are a little bit opposite that way. So I'm not worried that way. I think, but they need to know their roles in their, and they need to work as hard. They need to work as hard as you did. They really do. They don't think they do sometimes, but in the back of my mind, the more you do for our company, the more I remember. So when it's time for compensation, when it's time for extra time off, when it's time for these type of things, I remember all this stuff, and I give it to them. I say, hey, look, yeah, you deserve that. Go for it.
That's really good. So key there, setting your kids up for success in the roles that they're particularly good for.
Yes.
Is there anything you did to develop certain things with Garrett so far that you feel you did well, and maybe a lesson that didn't go so well?
Well, I think I was never privileged to go to college. Okay, I was in a household, we had very low income, and I wasn't able to do that. And so as I improved in the business and I came financially comfortable, I was blessed to be able to put my son and my daughter through gem school and have them both become graduate gemologists. That's something I feel proud about, and I think they feel proud that they have those titles, and they've worked very hard to get those titles and work with these titles. And so I feel that's important. I feel that made me feel good by giving them something I never was able to have.
That's good.
In my business. Me, it was fly by the seat of my pants, and my experience is 38 years of doing the same type of thing and try to do it in an incredibly creative way. And I've taught my kids that. I mean, I went totally custom probably 5 years ago, where now there isn't a jeweler in town that can compare the quality of what we do, and I have 6 of the most talented custom jewelers in the state. But I did that rather than merchandising like everybody else does, buy the merchandise with designer names that are already marked their merchandise super high, okay? And now I got to mark it up and sell to the public. And then diamonds are falling out of it all day long. I had enough of that stuff. So some of these things I instilled in my kids to say, look, quality first, not quantity, quality first on everything. Whatever we do, make it where our stones don't fall out. Make it so it lasts for twice as long as everybody else's piece. And they do that. And I like it because my son says, no, Dad, we're only going to make shanks, which is the bottom of the ring, a minimum of 2.5, 3 millimeters, no less. Because out there, they're 1.5, 1.8. So our rings, our jewelry will last longer and stand up to day-to-day wear and last for generations. And he knows that, and so he builds things accordingly that way.
That's great. But one thing you said there, and I don't know if you do this, but my dad always did it to me, and it drove me bonkers, was if I questioned anything that might have put him on the defensive, he was just like, because I said so. If I would ask why, he'd say, because I said so. And I think that might have been, I don't know, put it out there as your generation, maybe because that's how you guys were treated.
Right.
But I hated it. I could not stand it.
Sure.
So I even promise to people that I lead nowadays, where I'm like, if you ever ask me why, I will tell you the reason.
Right.
I never could, and I would use that as an example with my father. It was like, you know, maybe it was just a pet peeve of mine. But I think there is some merit to it. It's like, because I said so isn't a real answer.
No.
That's an authoritarian thing.
Yeah.
You certainly know better. You have the experience, but I'm curious. I want to know why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. Well, it would have been a good, because I said so, but here's why I said so.
Yeah.
And then you tell them. Okay. Yeah, there's been many times my son and I butt heads a lot.
That's good.
So, but
you're
it's a
still
good
working
thing.
together.
Yeah, we're still working together, and I respect things he does, and I hope he respects some of the things I do. And it's so far working out.
Well, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I thought you could sort of shed some valuable, advice there for our audience. So, so going back to the body language and walking with confidence. Mm-hmm. So what are some key points for our audience to be conscious of as professionals? And I know we covered on some. So dressing nice, wear nice custom jewelry from Chalmers Jewelers.
Yeah, there you go.
What are some other stuff? Maybe eye contact you talked about. Anything else?
You know what? And what I think some people are failing on, okay? And I know I'm into it. Take care of yourself. Stay in shape. Exercise. Don't eat crappy foods.
But why?
Why? Because that shows your appearance. Your suit's going to look nice and crisp and tailored, not with the tummy hanging out. Okay.
But also, you talked about before, is that confidence.
Yes.
Is staying in shape helps you more. At least it has helped me, and I know we've talked about.
You're
this.
in phenomenal shape.
But,
yes.
But that confidence that self-worth piece is like you work hard to stay in shape. It's easy to not be in shape.
Oh, totally.
It's hard to stay in shape. It's hard to find the time, especially as you have kids, especially as you're running a business. So it's that confidence and self-worth piece.
Yes.
When you say that comes to mind. And I want our audience to be like, I've been out of shape. I starting this business. I literally poured my blood, sweat, and tears into it. Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, I made a decision. I was like, I'd always been an athlete my whole life. And 2 years ago, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I can
do better than this.
I can do, but I respected my athleticism back then, and that's a core value of mine, and I was neglecting it.
Right.
So 2 years ago, I made a decision to bust my ass.
And look how you look today. You
look
it
was
phenomenal.
hard work. And so here's what I say: is you've stayed in shape up into your 60s. I'm in my late 30s. It's like if you're in your 20s and you're listening to this right now, stay in shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's twice, 3 times, 4 times as hard to get back in shape.
Especially my age. People 50 on up, it's the hardest thing to get back into shape. Absolutely. Just stay with it, eat well, throw away every canned soda you ever looked at, okay? And you only need I would say 45 minutes a day. I mean, you know what you go through. I only do 45 minutes a day, but it's enough for me just to stay toned as I can, stay slim as I can, keep my nice suits looking good. And and not only that, but I think if you feel good about yourself, your self-image, it exuberates to whoever you talk to.
And that's the key. That's the key with walking with confidence today.
Yes.
Is yes, you can dress nice. Yes, you can wear nice jewelry. But if you don't exude that self-confidence and self-worth, I don't think any of it really matters. It's just a shell game at that point. You're putting up a front.
Right.
It's got to come from within.
And you have more energy then too. If you're taking care of yourself inside physically and everything, you have more energy. So that comes out. You have a better glow in your skin. Your skin looks a nice color. You feel good. You have that crisp look. You don't have the down here. You're nice thin. You're feeling good. So if you feel good on the way from the inside, you'll look great on the outside.
That's right. That's absolutely right. But also a couple other things that we didn't necessarily talk about. Fidgeting. A lot of people do this. Mm-hmm. I actually got pointed out to this with someone that I mentored. Is some of us, actually a lot of us, the financial advising business, maybe also as business owners, ADHD can be a trait that carries along there. And I'm mentoring someone, and I was fidgeting with a pen. Nice pen. You sold me. And I noticed that every time I moved the tip of the pen, his eyes went there.
Okay.
And I was like, and it didn't matter what I did with my hands with that. And so the next time I did, I was fidgeting with someone else. His eyes went there. I was like, so some people, especially to be cognizant that you may be making eye contact, but because you're making a fidget, a weird gesture, something that you don't even know, a tick that you don't even know you have.
Distraction.
It's a distraction.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So just being observant and learning that stuff about yourself, or having good truth tellers in your life to say, oh, I know what it was. Jordan, my brother, recently, probably a year ago or so, I was giving a talk to the organization, and he goes, and I can't do this, but no one just listening to this is going to see this, but he goes, you touch your eye and make this face sometimes as you're thinking about when you're talking. And I was like, no, I guess I don't even know what you're talking about. He's like, it looks like kind of like this. It doesn't look good. I was like, all right.
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
Subconsciously,
I'll be cognizant. So anytime I even think about bringing my hand to my face, I'm thinking, oh yeah, Jordan said that about, I better not do that.
There you go. Yeah.
So
it's a good thing he pointed out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
those
it's
little
good.
things.
So, and then hands in pockets can also be closed off.
Yeah, I would never put your hands in your pocket. A lot of time people fold their arms like this.
Yeah. You close yourself off.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said it actually earlier, that just rung true in my head. You said you walk out open, smiling.
Yeah.
So your arms are open.
Arms are open, hands are out. Hi,
Yeah.
welcome to Chalmers Jewelers.
Yeah. And that's key, because a lot of people don't necessarily know that. Because for me, and I even remember going through this, it's comfortable to cross your arms sometimes.
Yeah.
But what you don't realize is if you're in a conversation with someone, it actually signals to them that you're closed off to what they're saying, or maybe you're not listening.
Right.
So yes, it might be comfortable to you, but you also got to remember you're also having a conversation with someone, and they may perceive it to be that you're closed off to them.
Exactly.
So
I also kind of, with cell phones, that's another one. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I will not take my cell phone in for dinner. I will, if I'm going out with my wife for a nice dinner, cell phone stays in the car. I just purposely do that because I'm seeing too many people driving down the roads. Everybody's got their cell phone in their hand, which scares the heck out of me driving down the road, for one thing. But then I see people at a table, a couple they both have their cell phones out, and they're not even talking to each other, and they're not communicating with each other, nothing.
That's not a relationship.
No, it's like everything's so electronic, So those type of things, I try totally to, if I'm here with you or something, the last thing I'm going to be doing is playing on my phone. I think it's rude.
Yeah.
So I try not to do that.
And parents that are listening, remember this, that your kids pick up on that. And I try to be very cognizant of that, because even if here's where it stuck out to me, my 4-year-old, who's now 5, but it was last year when she said this, she told me to get off my iPad. She's my little spitfire of my 4 kids.
I like it.
she literally pushes my iPad down, so get off. I was like, honey, I was actually reading something. Like you read books, I was reading something. But she doesn't know that.
No.
because she just cut.
You were ignoring her is what it was.
I was ignoring her.
Yep.
She wanted my attention.
Yep.
B, iPads to her are entertainment.
That's true.
To me, it's work.
True.
But either way, I wasn't paying attention to her, which is
Right.
what I needed to be doing.
Yep.
Because I was at home.
Exactly.
So you're spot on with the phone, and if you're listening to this, please get off your phone on the roads.
Yeah, please do.
Save us all.
No kidding.
It's just as bad as driving drunk. I agree. It's caused just as many accidents. So, So that being said, all right. So we want to wrap up here. Any parting words for us, Scott?
Well, if anyone's out there that wants to open up a business, get ready to work your butt off. Get ready for a little rejection, which is what the couple banks did.
Rejection.
Yeah, banks did to me. But pursue. Think of family. Think of your future. Think of, hey, it's always better to do it for yourself than have to work for someone else if you have that choice. But it's not going to come from 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week or even 60 hours a week. Get ready to put in the most amount of hours and time you've ever put together in your life.
But if it's your dream, if it's your passion, go for it.
Exactly. And it's been my passion.
It'll be worth it.
Yes. 38 years later, I'm still in the business.
And still loving it.
I do love it. It's funny. I'm in the love business, Josh.
That's right.
I'm in the best business you could possibly be in. Everybody's happy when they come see me.
That's true. That's very true. Not all businesses can say that.
No, I wouldn't want to be a transmission repairman. I mean, it's always a negative, right? When you come in, you have to get your tranny fixed, and they tell you it's a few $1,000s. You know?
Yeah.
I'd rather tell you it's a few $1,000, but you're going to put that beautiful diamond on your wife's neck, and she's going to love you forever now.
Yeah.
So it's a big
at least
difference.
for a little while.
At least till you got the earrings.
That's right. I read a quote the other day that was pretty interesting. It said, if you want to be loved by everyone, don't be a leader, sell ice cream. So it could be change that to sell jewelry.
Good. Yeah, I like it.
So I don't remember who that was, but so
Everybody likes ice cream.
Definitely wasn't me that quoted that. I'm just repeating it, but I thought it was
that's a pretty good one.
Funny and appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So how can people get a hold of you?
They can email me at scott@chalmersjewelers.com.
Great.
And we can go from there. They can also call me if they want. I'm usually at the Middleton store, which is 608-233-4700. If they have a question, I'm happy to answer it.
Perfect. And congratulations on the second store.
Thank you, Josh. It's
East
been a
Madison.
lot of fun. Yep, on the corner of Blair and East Washington, the old Hirschlater Furrier building.
And real cool middle safe room in there, right?
The safe's pretty outrageous, because it was a huge safe back then for furs, stacking furs. So the room is gigantic. Well, we made that into our CAD design center with TVs and all our diamonds. Everything's all in there, a couple nice desks, and that's where Garrett is designing jewelry. So people come in, they love it. They walk into this 1928 safe that I had all wrapped in aluminum. I mean, it's quite large. And then I had it all hand etched by Mike Chamberlain at Vital Signs. So if you want to come into like an artistic looking jewelry store that's totally a little bit crazy inside and fun, stop on in. It's very comfortable. You'll love it.
Well, it sounds right up Garrett's alley.
Oh, it is totally. Absolutely.
So that's great.
No, it's good.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you again, and thank you to all our listeners. Today's topic, walking with confidence with Scott Chalmers.
Thank you, Josh.